Hey, fellow YouTubers, GameBro here, and this is another short game I will be playing through just to have even more variety. This is Alex Kidd, The Lost Stars. I am playing this from the Wii Virtual Console. It originally released for the arcade, and then re-released for the Sega Master System, which is the one that was ported to the Wii, as you may have assumed. Not many Sega Master System games have made it to the Virtual Console, but pretty much every Alex Kidd game released for the Sega Master System released there. I intend to buy the rest of the games. Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle and Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. I don't remember if I stated during my Miracle World playthrough, but I intend to play through all of those, but because not many people have. This is a series I'm rather intrigued by. Although this particular one, I say that I'm intrigued by the rest of the games, but this particular game it's difficult to say that it was worth the $5, and granted, $5 isn't much to spend on, obviously. This game is considered the black sheep of the Alex Kidd franchise, and I can definitely see why. Okay, in this game, you have to make it from start to finish, like a generic platformer. Except on top of the screen, you see the meter, and you have to get to the end on time. Otherwise, it is an automatic, can't say game over, particularly since you have an unlimited amount of times to retry through this. Unlike the arcade counterpart, which, the cliche 3 lives and you have to start over. This one, receiving 1 hit will decrease the amount of time you have. Oh, and there's an Opa reference, which would technically be Sega's first mascot, although Alex Kidd is a little more well-known, which clearly isn't saying much. Clearly not many people knew about him, even those who enjoy the more popular franchises, like Sonic the Hedgehog, Streets of Rage, Shenmue, and such. There isn't a lot wrong with this game in particular. It is just nowhere near as enjoyable as, like, Miracle World. The controls were fine. The design isn't too bad. There is a pretty good variety. There's a lot of variety within, with the design and enemies. Pretty good variety in design of stages. You're having to go through a completely different theme for every level. This is a really good Sega Master System game, I must say. Obviously, it is not as good looking as the arcade counterpart, but from my point of view, it is more appealing to look at. And if you must die, be sure not to fall to your death, since you have to go back to one of the few checkpoints. If you get hit any other way, you just restart from where you left off, just with slightly less time. So whatever you do, do not fall off screen. Just waste your time. Every enemy takes off 2 bars of the meter, so it's not like some enemies are stronger than others. And be careful to grab onto those if you run at a quick enough speed, try to grab on, you fail at doing so. You might have seen from the first level. You cannot so much grab onto those things if you reach full velocity. Oh, and this part is incredibly annoying. Thankfully, it wasn't too much trouble for me, but those bolts will kill you over and over if you don't know exactly when to walk through. Find the miracle ball. That's not too bad audio clip for an 8-bit game. Sounds better than some of the Mega Drive games, actually. And you can tell from my accent that I'm not from Europe or anything. I just prefer the name Mega Drive, despite living in the States. Why did it switch to Genesis here? At any rate, as stated, each level contains a theme completely different. The last one was a factory level. And we have to meet completely different enemies, and even those nude ones. Yeah, only in Japan, folks. Only in Japan. I'm surprised those enemies weren't censored. Or maybe they were, but became uncensored again in the Wii Virtual Console port. I don't know. Anyways, you can kind of cheat a bit, jump over those things. So there are also some power-ups to collect, make this game a little more interesting, yet perhaps a bit too easy. Miracle World is definitely a more challenging game. One of them gives you the ability to jump higher, which would be a huge help in some obstacles in this game. One of the power-ups, well, can't so much call it a power-up as much as time restoration. Just gives you some more time to make it to the end. And here's an underwater level. And the other power-up, you're able to attack some enemies. You do have you're able to fetch a pretty good amount of ammunition. So at the same time, since that's the only attack you have, don't go too crazy with it. And it will not work on some enemies either. Let alone bosses at the end, as few as there are. Boss in this game, you just have to run or jump past. Watch out for them octopuses and such. Some anchors. So one of these days, Sega should release the arcade version of this. From the gameplay footage I've seen, it does look like a superior game. I mean, it still doesn't look oh, and those enemies. They are kind of like loopers. They function like them a bit. I mean, it still doesn't look amazing, but it does look like a pretty fun game. Also in that version, which disappointingly is not in this, you have the ability to enjoy this game with a friend. You have an Alex Kidd, a female Alex Kidd counterpart called Stella. Not sure how well the co-op works. It's difficult to find. There's hardly any footage of this game, as you might have noticed. Couldn't really find any footage of Stella being playable as well, though I have seen screenshots of it. And that scream, man, that is just kind of painful. Does not work in a lighthearted game. The music and sound effects are quite good, but Alex Kidd's cry, it just didn't need to be a thing. What's in the clam? So in this game, we are searching for the 12 zodiac signs by collecting, which would be anything but what looks like zodiac signs. Here you are in kind of prehistoric times. I'm getting a Joe and Mac vibe from this. Though I have never played Joe and Mac, I have seen gameplay footage of the game being played all the way through. It just kind of reminds me of it a little bit. Probably one of the best levels in the game. Jump to the platform after the next one. It is easier to get across that way. I can't stress enough. However you lose time, do not fall in the pits or whatever. Only a handful of checkpoints in this game, but I've already stated that. So. There will be 2 parts to this. The first part, and do not keep mashing or hold A for the balloon. Instead, just use the pad so you are able to hover just well and not have it pop. But at any rate, you go through the first 7 levels and then the game repeats those same 7 levels, but with some different enemy placements and even different enemies altogether. But mostly just like more enemies and such. I debated whether I was gonna show off again the rest of the zodiac signs, since the stage design does not change whatsoever, just some of the enemy placements. But another neat thing about this, well, I say another, but I haven't listed anything too special about this port, but you're able to switch between like the Sega Master System sound chip and like either it's the arcade sound chip or something that sounds really similar. So I'll be playing through like the hard version, the second quest, the whatever you call it, with better audio quality, not so much 8-bit-ish. So after the first 7 levels, if that doesn't intrigue you at all, you may as well stop watching afterwards. Pretty much nearly finished with the first quest as it is. This being a kid's game, obviously there's going to be a lot of color, some kiddie-looking backgrounds, but the backgrounds here kind of look like they were drawn by kids. I don't know, kind of blah, but yeah, whatever. Just being nitpicky. You know what? Even drops, friggin' everything in this game kills you. You'll be hearing that cry a lot, so be sure to improve on that. Improve in this game, and quickly, if that cry annoys you, like it kind of does to me. Aside from a few unfair moments, some tricky, unfair platforming, and not a lot of methods on attacking, there isn't a lot wrong with this game. It does the platforming well enough. And here's some cutting. It's just not that fun to play through. It's mildly enjoyable for the most part, but it's definitely not as fun of a game as Alex Kidd in Miracle World. I've also heard some negative things about Enchanted Castle, Like how, despite being a superior system, the music isn't anywhere near as good. It now focuses even more heavily on the rock, paper, scissors mechanic. Now, thankfully, that's not a thing here. Rock, paper, scissors is nothing particularly luck-based. But, I take a few luck-based bosses over mediocre platforming any day. But since I do call them mediocre, it wasn't a complete waste of $5. Or however much you were able to find it on the original Master System. The graphics are pretty much top-notch for a Master System game, and the music, sound effects are quite good, but the gameplay, it is at best average. Although at least the space level is kind of fun to go through. Partially because you're able to jump really high, as what you might expect from space, or what you expect from space is no gravity whatsoever, but whatever. It's gotta be platforming, I guess. Man, that cry. Need I say more? Some of the best design in this level, though. And you have to excuse me if I end up having any mission but not making much use of it. Because you're doing a whole lot of jumping and a whole lot of not really anything else. Sometimes I forget about the fact I'm able to attack enemies, as embarrassing as it sounds. I mean, you just have the 1 and the 2 button, which ironically would apply to the Wii version, and it's 1 and 2 buttons, not like A and B or anything. And here's an angry sun-like boss. I mean, the original Angry Sun from SMB3 was scary as it is. At least I thought so as a little kid. No telling. I would definitely be frightened of that boss if I played this game at a young age. If my parents were Sega gamers. But nope, I grew up with an NES/SNES and did not. I mean, I owned a Pico and a Game Gear like at the age of 7. Actually, I owned a Pico even before that, but it's clearly aimed for little kids. And the Game Gear, I've only had 3 games for it. So you can hardly say that I had memories with Sega as a little kid. And as you can see, that moment is hell to get through. Consider yourself lucky. That is definitely one of the more unfair moments. But besides those brutal moments, it is an easy game. So again, if you're not interested in second playthroughs, not much else. See, you may as well stop now.